Hello, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have some questions from Instagram, so let's just get right to it. First question, how long were you at white belt? Almost a year in and feeling like I suck. You're a white belt. You are supposed to suck. I was a white belt for 1 year. I felt like white belt was just a hot mess. I think towards the later end of white belt, things started making a little bit more sense, but I feel like all of my white belt journey was mostly just about me becoming comfortable with training jiu-jitsu. Nothing really started clicking, honestly, until like halfway through blue. So for me, 2 years into training is around the time when things started clicking a little bit. So what you're feeling is totally normal. In the grand scheme of jiu-jitsu, 1 year into training is such a little amount of time. I know a year can feel like a lot of time, and I know you're probably working so hard and you probably spent a lot of time on the mats, but 1 year in jiu-jitsu is just not a lot. So do not be too hard on yourself. And also another really important note, do your best, and I know this can be kind of difficult, do your best to not compare your journey to somebody else's journey, because everybody's lives are so different and everybody's jiu-jitsu journey is so different. I was a white belt for a year. I trained 5 to 6 times a week. I was training a lot. Somebody else who maybe doesn't train as much, it might take them a little bit longer. Or someone like my husband who had a wrestling background, he was only a white belt for a couple of months. So everybody's journey is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. So focus on your own journey. Try not to compare yourself to somebody else. And I promise if you just keep training, things will start to click. Then somebody asked, what is your go-to Starbucks drink right now? I hate to break it to you, but I do not like Starbucks. I think Starbucks is so overrated, and the only time I will go to Starbucks is if there's no other option. I just think their coffee tastes like burnt charcoal. And then I guess sometimes their lattes are okay, but I don't know, I just feel like they're a little much. So a couple weeks ago when I went to my husband's gym, Starbucks is right across the street. So we were in a rush. Of course, I wanted a coffee, so we went to Starbucks. And I was like, ooh, let me treat myself today. So I got a pumpkin cream cold brew. It was not good, thus proving that Starbucks is very overrated. With all of that being said, if I do go to Starbucks and I don't get anything special, the only thing that I'm really getting is a grande iced coffee with cream and cinnamon sprinkled on top. If I'm getting a hot coffee, I will get a grande misto, which is a coffee with steamed milk. If you steam the milk, it is a game changer because it makes the coffee a little less burnt charcoal-y. So that is my spiel on Starbucks. Question number 3, how do I keep training when I leave for uni? I'll be leaving my whole team behind. That sucks. It sucks to feel like you kind of have this other family. It sucks to feel like your jiu-jitsu is your home and then you have to leave it. I, for one, can absolutely understand that right now. But I think probably the easiest thing is, have you checked out if there's any schools in your area, any schools that are nearby your university? Jiu-jitsu schools are everywhere, so there's probably one that's not too far. If there's no school, the next thing that I would probably recommend is try to find people on your campus that maybe have trained. I don't know if there's like some sort of group or Facebook group, like I don't even know how college works these days. It's been so long since I've been to college, but try to find maybe a group where you can see if people in that group, people on your campus have either trained in wrestling or trained jiu-jitsu. And then maybe you can find an area on campus to, I don't know, buy some cheap mats and get some training in. Next question, at what belt rank did you start competing in jiu-jitsu? Advice to sign up for your first competition. I started competing when I was about 5 or 6 months into training. My personal advice is I would wait to compete until you feel like you have a pretty decent grasp on the basic positions in jiu-jitsu and the basic dominant positions in jiu-jitsu. You know, full mount, side mount, back control. It would be helpful to maybe know how to do like 1 or 2 solid submissions. I would say as long as you feel like you have this basic understanding of jiu-jitsu, then you're probably ready to compete. No one is ever ready to compete, especially for your first time. Most of the time, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna feel like a fish out of water. I know I did. So just get down your basics, and then if you want to compete, sign up. Your first competition is not about winning. Of course, you always want to go into a competition trying to win, right? But for your first competition at white belt, or any belt for that matter, it is all about the experience because it feels totally different being out there on the competition mats versus inside the training room. It is like two completely different worlds. So go out there for the experience, but you want to go out there with the fundamentals down because the person that you're going against, they're going to be just as nervous as you are, but they're going to be coming after you. So you want to have at least a small idea on what to do. Okay, this question is a little bit longer. I rolled up my neck weird and it cracked like 5 times. I feel fine and I am in no pain, but I'm traumatized in getting back into jiu-jitsu after a scare like that. It was a freak thing, but I feel sick thinking about how bad it could have been. I totally hear ya. It sounds like you gave yourself a little chiropractic adjustment. Thankfully, it's not anything more serious, especially when it comes to this particular situation that you're dealing with. I've actually hurt my neck and it was one of the scariest things to experience. Every injury is no joke, but neck injuries, those are no joke. It might be helpful just to take some time off. Maybe take a week or 2 off. Take off more time if you need to. But being fearful on the mats can definitely be a hindrance to your training. So if you have to take a couple of weeks off just to kind of settle down your mind a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to take off, another option is to just be a little bit more reserved when you're rolling and be mindful of where that body part is when you're rolling. When I hurt my neck, I feel like for a very long time, like over a year, my neck was not the same. I came back from the injury, I would train and then I would hurt it again and then I would take more time off and then I would hurt it again. And it was just kind of this never-ending battle that I felt like was never gonna end. But throughout that whole process, and honestly even now, neck stuff freaks me out because like I said, neck injuries are no joke and it was just a terrible experience. I'm always very mindful of where my neck is and I try to avoid positions at all costs that compromise my neck. Sometimes it's just about training smart. So if you want to keep training, just be aware of certain positions. Be aware of, obviously the big one is guillotines. Be aware of maybe bow and arrow chokes, any kind of head and arm choke. And there's nothing wrong with tapping early. Even though you're not injured, but mentally you're still a little worked up over what happened, it's okay to tap. If you get stuck in a guillotine, tap. Tap early. There's nothing wrong with that. Will you be attending the Alchemize camp? Yes, I will. I am so excited. I will absolutely be there. And since it's all the way next May, I'm hoping that I'll be able to train a little bit. Even if I'm not rolling by then, I'm hoping that I can at least get some drilling in and practice the technique from all of the different instructors. So I'm really looking forward to it. Maya and I are so excited. And I think for me personally, what kind of makes it even more exciting is because I'm, for the most part, the one that communicates with all of the customers via Instagram and our website and email and everything. So of course, a lot of our customers are going to be attending the camps. So I think it'll be really fun just to sort of come out from behind the computer and just meet all of these wonderful jiu-jitsu women that I communicate with all the time. What are your thoughts on Gracie Jiu-Jitsu? Structured but no sparring until after beginner level. I understand it and I can definitely see the positives of it and why some schools do that. But I'm a little biased in the other direction because my training wasn't like that. When I was a white belt, I started sparring right away. I think after a couple of classes that I watched, it was pretty much whenever I got comfortable. But for example, the school that my husband is now the head instructor at, their beginner classes, there's really not a ton of sparring going on. Every class that I have seen so far, it's all situational sparring, which I think is great. Situational sparring for beginners is great. It gives you a certain goal, it gives you something to work on, and it's probably what you just learned in class versus having someone who's only been training for a month or two starting from the feet or just even starting from the knees and you don't really have any idea what to do. So I can definitely see the pros to it, but it's hard to say because my training wasn't like that, and personally, I don't know if I could imagine going through 3 months of jiu-jitsu and never having sparred. I guess it depends also how long the beginner program is. As far as the Gracie program goes, I don't really know how they do it. I think situational sparring for beginners and for everyone, no matter how advanced you are, situational sparring is great. But I personally do think that beginners should experience some regular sparring once they've been training for a little while. And the last question for today, any advice for white belts who feel like their progress is at a standstill? Man, I think you white belts are being too hard on yourself. At white belt, you're not supposed to know anything. You're not responsible for anything. Now, obviously, once you start getting towards your blue belt, especially if you test for your blue belt, yes, you're gonna have to know stuff. And now, as far as being at a standstill at white belt, I think there's some serious questioning that you have to do. White belt, everything is supposed to feel new and exciting. So ask yourself, like, why do you feel like you're at a standstill already at white belt? Are you feeling like you just train with the same couple of people all the time and you're getting bored? Do you feel like your coach just teaches the same basic movements over and over again? Which that will happen and it's necessary. Sometimes it can get boring, but it is necessary. Or do you feel like you're learning new stuff, but your mind just can't grasp it yet? I feel like being at a standstill at white belt is difficult because you don't even really have like a game yet. So I would just really try to ask yourself, what do you feel like you're missing? And after you ask yourself, this is a really great opportunity to then go ask your coach. Ask your coach how he or she feels that you can do better. If you feel like your blue belt might be coming soon, for example, ask him or her the steps that you need to be taking in order to make it to that next level. Or what are some things that you really need to have nailed down in order to get your blue belt? Just have a conversation with your coach. He or she should be able to sort of guide you in the right direction on how you can keep progressing further. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comments. Of course, as always, leave your opinion in the comments. If you have anything to say on the topics that we talked about today, let me know, leave a comment. If you are not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that bell notification button so that you never miss when I post a new video. And until the next video, I will see you guys next time.